The medal ceremony had ended less than an hour ago when the first cold pulse hit me right behind the sternum. It wasn't pain. Not yet. Just a slow, deliberate throb, like someone had slipped a metronome inside my ribs and set it to funeral tempo. I stood in the sterile white of the medical bay aboard the carrier Indomitable, staring at the ceiling while the Thaler medical team finished their work. The implant was already in place. A smooth obsidian disc the size of a coin, nestled 3 centimeters from my heart. Neural threads spiderwebbed out from it, invisible on the outside, but I could feel them settling, rooting, claiming territory. Admiral Brooks had delivered the news with the enthusiasm of a man reading a tax form. Captain Hale, congratulations. You've been selected for the Thaler Companion Initiative, a gesture of unbreakable alliance. Their young empath will bond with you. It's non-negotiable. 26 years in the fleet, 3 wars, a chest full of ribbons. And now I was being turned into a living diplomatic USB stick. The girl, Elara Finn, stood barely taller than my elbow. Her skin shimmered pale silver under the lights, almost translucent, like frost on a window. Huge violet eyes watched me without blinking. She looked 19, maybe 20. Too young for this. Too young for any of this. The lead Thaler surgeon stepped back. The link is active. Emotional resonance established. The failsafe is primed. I didn't like the word failsafe. What happens if I decide I don't want a roommate in my head? The surgeon's gaze flicked to Elara, then back to me. Removal is impossible. Any attempt triggers the device. The blast radius would encompass this entire bay. So, a bomb, strapped to my heart like a promise. Elara spoke then, voice soft as distant rain. You are carrying more than death, Captain. She leaned closer, close enough that I smelled something like ozone and night-blooming flowers. There is an echo of fate hidden inside. It waits. It listens. One day it will answer. Her words landed like frost on bare skin. I wanted to laugh it off. I wanted to demand clarification. Instead, I just stared at her, feeling the first faint thread of her presence brush the edges of my mind. Curiosity, fear, and something older, resignation. The surgeon cleared his throat. Bonding complete. You are now linked. Dismissed. I walked out of that bay with a bomb in my chest and a stranger's quiet prophecy ringing in my ears. Whatever echo of fate she thought was hiding in there, I already hated it. The first few days aboard the Indomitable felt like living with a ghost in my ribcage. I kept the connecting door between our quarters sealed. Locked. Double-checked. Elara never knocked. She didn't need to. Every time she felt lonely, it leaked into me like cold water through cracked plating. A dull ache behind my eyes. A tightness in my throat that wasn't mine. When she dreamed, and she dreamed often, I tasted ash and heard the low roar of colliding rock. I saw flashes. Crystalline spires folding like paper under the weight of a rogue asteroid swarm, skies burning violet, families frozen mid-scream. Her colony, gone in 47 minutes. She'd been 17 by Thaler reckoning. The only one pulled from the wreckage because her gift let the rescue drones sense life, where scanners saw only silence. I avoided the observation deck, the mess hall during off shifts, anywhere she might be. My squad noticed. They joked I'd picked up a space fiancé and was sulking about it. I told them to shut up and run another sim. But the Bond didn't care about locked doors or sarcasm. Her isolation wrapped around me at night until I woke sweating, convinced the bulkheads were closing in. On the 6th night, I couldn't take it anymore. I found the holodeck empty at 0200 ship time. Programmed it for the old observation platform over New Seattle, rain-slick streets, neon bleeding into puddles, the Space Needle half lost in fog. A place I used to go when things got heavy back on Earth. I sat on the edge of the platform, legs dangling over nothing, letting the simulated drizzle soak my uniform. The door hissed open behind me. Elara stepped in barefoot. She wore one of the oversized fleet jumpsuits we'd issued her. The sleeves swallowed her hands. Her silver skin caught the neon glow and turned it liquid. She didn't speak, just walked over and sat beside me, close enough that our shoulders almost touched, far enough that I could pretend it was accidental. You're remembering someone, she said quietly. Not a question. I exhaled through my nose. Yeah. Silence stretched. Rain pattered on metal grating that didn't exist. My sister, I finally said. Leah. She was on the Aurora when the Brexel raiders hit the outer colonies. I was supposed to be on that rotation. Swapped last minute for a training billet. They never found enough to bury. The words came out flat. I'd said them so many times they'd worn smooth. But every time I close my eyes, I still see the after-action report. The list. Her name third from the top. Alara tilted her head. Through the bond, one felt her sift gently across the surface of the memory. Not prying, just present. I see her smile, she murmured. She laughed like wind chimes. I swallowed hard. No one had ever described Liao that way. Not even me. How do you do that? I asked. I don't steal memories. I only borrow the shape of them. The warmth. She paused. You carry her the way I carry my colony. Quietly. Loudly. All at once. We sat there until the program cycled to false dawn. Pink light bleeding through the simulated clouds. Neither of us moved to leave. When I finally stood, she did too. I'm not good at this, I told her. Being tethered. Neither am I, she answered. But perhaps we can be bad at it together. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. For the first time since the implantation, the cold throb in my chest felt less like a countdown and more like a heartbeat echoing back. If you've watched this far, then this story is really interesting to you. Please confirm it by clicking like under this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me understand what story to publish for you next. Tell me, do you like the comic book style? Let's move on. The Vega cluster was supposed to be quiet patrol territory, dark nebulae, drifting gas clouds, the occasional derelict freighter. Instead, it became a shooting gallery. Alarms screamed red across the bridge as 3 rogue Federation corvettes dropped out of hyperspace distortion right on top of us. No warning. No parley. Just weapons fire stitching across our shields like white-hot needles. The Indomitable lurched. I was thrown against the tactical console hard enough to taste blood. My helmet visor spiderwebbed. Atmosphere hissed through the crack. Through the bond came a spike of pure, animal terror, not mine. Alara. I was already moving before conscious thought caught up. Bridge to security. Lock down civilian decks. I'm heading to Section C. I didn't wait for acknowledgement. I sprinted into the smoke-filled corridor, mag boots clanging, sidearm drawn. The bond pulled me like a tether. Her fear was a beacon, sharp and bright, cutting through the chaos. I found her in the main transit hall outside the auxiliary engineering bay. Emergency strobes painted everything bloody. A support girder had collapsed, pinning one of our engineers, Rodriguez, under twisted alloy. His leg was mangled, blood pooled fast. Alara knelt beside him, small hands hovering just above the wound. Her face was taut with concentration, violet eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. What the hell are you doing? I barked, dropping to one knee beside her. He's dying, she said, voice thin. I can take the edge off. Redirect the pain. Keep him conscious until medics arrive. Rodriguez's screams had already dropped to ragged gasps. His eyes, wild with shock, focused on her with something like awe. You'll burn yourself out, I told her. I could feel it already. Her own system straining, the bond transmitting waves of exhaustion that made my own limbs feel leaden. I know what I can handle, Captain. Another hit rocked the ship. Consoles exploded somewhere aft. The deck tilted. I made the call. Marines, 2 of you on me. Help me lift this beam. She keeps him stable. We heaved. Metal groaned. Alara stayed locked in, sweat beading on her silver skin, breath coming in shallow bursts. When the girder finally shifted, Rodriguez groaned once and went limp, but alive. Med team rushed in with grav litters. Alara swayed. I caught her elbow, the first real touch since implantation. The bond flared wide open. Her fatigue crashed into me like a breaker wave. Her determination. Her bone-deep fear of failing again. And underneath it all, gratitude, fragile and bright. My own emotions poured back. Anger at the rogues, protective fury, and something new, raw, reluctant worry for this small, stubborn empath who'd just spent herself saving one of my people. She looked up at me, surprised. You didn't order me to stop. Would you have listened? A ghost of a smile touched her lips. No. Then what would have been the point? The battle dragged on for another 90 minutes. When it finally ended, we'd lost 8 crew, 30 wounded. Alara worked in the med bay until she collapsed, absorbing shock, calming panic, steadying minds on the edge of breaking. I found her later in a dimly lit supply alcove, curled against a crate, trembling, skin gone dull and ashen. "You're an idiot," I said, sliding down to sit beside her. "You helped. You nearly killed yourself." Through the bond, one felt her pulse stutter, her consciousness fraying at the edges. "What happens to me if you die?" I asked quietly. "Remember?" She managed a weak laugh. "Is that why you came looking? Self-preservation?" I let her feel the truth. No words, just the wash of relief when I'd found her breathing, the strange pride at what she'd done, the knot of worry that had driven me through fire to reach her. "No," I admitted. "It isn't." She reached out. Her small hand settled over mine. The contact amplified everything. My gruff concern, her tentative trust, until we were just two exhausted people sitting in the aftermath, sharing silence and honesty. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet. The Admiral's going to want a full report on Allied personnel who endangered themselves in combat." I stood, pulled her gently to her feet. "I'm going to have to lie creatively." "You would do that?" "For you." The bond pulsed warm. Something dangerously close to real connection. Apparently, I didn't let go of her hand as we walked to medical. For the first time, the device in my chest didn't feel like a threat. It felt like proof we were both still here. The debrief was brutal. Admiral Brooks's face filled the holoscreen in my ready room, lines deeper than usual, eyes like chipped flint. "Captain Hale, your after-action report reads like a suicide pact. An Allied asset, unarmed, untrained in combat, redirects pain in the middle of a firefight? You personally haul wreckage to keep her from collapsing? Explain." I kept my voice level. "She saved Rodriguez. Kept his mind from shattering long enough for the med team to stabilize him. Without her, we'd have one more body bag." Brooks rubbed his temples. "The Rogue Federation has flagged Alara Finn as priority target alpha. Her empathic range, combined with neural interfacing potential, they want her for mind control R&D. They lost 3 ships trying to grab her in Vega. They won't stop." I felt Alara through the bond, even though she was 2 decks away in her quarters. A quiet ripple of unease, but no panic. She was listening. "Running won't solve it, Admiral," I said. "They'll keep hunting. Let me take the fight to them. Their regional outpost in the Eridani Drift. Intel says it's lightly defended, but central to their ops in this sector. We hit hard, capture their sector commander, cripple their pursuit." Brooks studied me for a long beat. "Your judgment is compromised, Captain. The bond. The bond is the only reason I'm still thinking straight." I cut in. "I know exactly what she's worth. I also know what she's capable of. Use us properly, and we end this." Another silence. Then, "What do you have in mind?" I laid it out. Small strike team. Me, for Marines, Alara as sensor asset. Her gift could read intent across bulkheads, detect lies in voices, sense ambushes before they sprung. She wasn't baggage. She was the edge. Brooks exhaled sharply. "Approved. But if this goes sideways, it's your career and hers. Insertion window opens in 72 hours. Don't make me regret this." The channel closed. I found Alara in the observation lounge, staring at the slow swirl of the Vega cluster's remnants. Stars looked colder after a battle. "They're coming for me," she said without turning. "Yeah, but we're going for them first." She faced me then, violet eyes steady. "You would risk your people for one Thaler?" "Not one. You." The word came out rougher than I intended. Through the bond, one let her feel it. Not duty, not alliance politics. Something personal. Protective. She stepped closer. "I will not be a passenger, Hale. If I go to help. To sense. To warn. I know. That's why I asked for you." A small, fierce smile touched her lips, the first I'd seen since the medbay alcove. Then we planned together. We spent the next 2 days in the tactics room. I showed her schematics of rogue outposts, choke points, sensor blind spots, probable guard rotations. She traced patterns in the air, explaining how emotions leave trails, fear tastes sharp, deception oily, confidence steady like a drum. If someone is waiting to spring a trap, I'll feel the anticipation before the weapon charges. I nodded, added her input to the op order. For the first time, the bomb in my chest didn't feel like a leash. It felt like shared stakes. The night before launch, she found me in my quarters. The door was open now, had been since Vega. She stood in the threshold, arms wrapped around herself. I spoke to the Thaler liaison, petitioned the elders to disable the failsafe. My pulse jumped, and they refused. Her voice caught. The compact insists mutual vulnerability binds the alliance. To remove it would diminish the meaning. I crossed the room in 2 strides. You tried to free me from the death sentence. Not from the bond. She met my eyes. From the thread inside it. I no longer want you tethered to my life as a hostage. I reached out, slowly, and rested my hand on her shoulder. The contact sang through the link. Her regret, her resolve, my quiet gratitude. Then we'll just have to keep each other alive, I said. She nodded once. Or die trying. Neither of us slept much. But when the alarm chimed for final prep, we walked to the shuttle bay side by side. The device pulsed steady in my chest. Not a countdown anymore. A reminder. Whatever happened next, we faced it linked. 72 hours passed in a blur of simulations, gear checks, and quiet conversations that grew less quiet each time. The night before insertion, Alara came to my quarters unannounced. The door was already open, habit now. She stood just inside the threshold, arms folded tight, silver skin catching the low glow of the status panel. I tried again, she said without preamble. I spoke directly to the Thaler Council of Elders via secure relay. I asked them to authorize deactivation of the failsafe. Told them the bond is no longer a political tool, it's real. That the threat of mutual death only poisons what could be strength. I set down the datapad I'd been reviewing. What did they say? Her voice cracked on the first word. They quoted doctrine. The companion link must remain inviolate. Vulnerability shared is trust forged. They called my request sentimental. They refused. I crossed to her in 3 steps. You asked them to risk the entire alliance framework just to give me a chance at living without a bomb ticking next to my heart. She looked up, violet eyes shining wet. I asked because you are no longer a stranger carrying my fate. You are Hale. You came through fire for me. You lied to your admiral for me. You sit with me in simulated rain and share ghosts from your past. I do not want your life held hostage to mine anymore. The bond opened without either of us trying. Raw, unguarded. I felt her ache. Regret for asking, grief that they said no, fierce protectiveness that surprised even her. I let her feel mine in return. Anger at the elders, gratitude that she'd fought for me anyway, and underneath it all, something warm and steady I hadn't named yet. Then something shifted. The room seemed to dim. Not physically, the light stayed steady, but inside us. A shared dream folded over reality like a veil. We weren't in my quarters anymore. We stood on the shattered surface of her lost colony, ash drifting like snow. Crystalline spires lay broken around us. Above, the rogue swarm still moved, slow, inevitable asteroids trailing fire. But I wasn't just watching. I was there, feeling the tremor in the ground, tasting the metallic burn of failing atmosphere. And she was in my memory. The bridge of the Aurora as it came apart, Leah's last transmission cutting off mid-laugh, the cold vacuum rushing in. Our fears collided, merged, became one continuous wound. Yet in that shared darkness, something else appeared, a faint golden thread weaving between us. Not the implant, not the failsafe, just us. The thread pulsed brighter each time we reached for the other through the nightmare. When the vision broke, we were back in my quarters, breathing hard, foreheads almost touching. She whispered, "Did you see it?" The thread, I said hoarsely. Yeah. It wasn't there before Vega. Her small hand found mine. The bond is changing. It's no longer only what they built. It's what we're choosing. I squeezed her fingers. Then we choose to come back alive tomorrow. Both of us. She nodded, a small, determined motion. Together. We didn't speak much after that. We sat on the edge of my bunk, shoulders brushing, letting the silence carry what words couldn't. The device in my chest thrummed, steady, almost gentle now. Not a threat. A heartbeat answering hers. When the readiness chime sounded at 0400, we rose as one. She slipped into the light combat harness we'd fitted for her, more sensor webbing than armor. I checked her seals twice. She checked mine once, lingering over the chest plate that hid the implant. At the shuttle bay, the strike team waited. For Marines, faces grim under helmets. They nodded to Alara. No jokes, no sidelong glances. After Vega, they knew what she could do. I looked at her one last time before we boarded. Stay close. Always, she answered. The ramp sealed. Engines hummed to life. The Indomitable fell away behind us as we burned toward the Eridani drift. Into the dark. Into the fight. Linked, not by force anymore, but by something neither of us had expected. Insertion was clean at first. We dropped out of slip space on the dark side of the Eridani Drift's gas giant, used its rings for cover, and ghosted toward the rogue outpost on a cold trajectory. No active scans. No chatter. Just the low hum of the stealth shuttle and the steady pulse in my chest matching Alara's breathing beside me. The team disembarked in vacuum suits on the asteroid's surface. Magnetic boots locked us down. Alara moved like she belonged there. Small, silent, violet eyes scanning ahead even though her helmet visor was tinted dark. She tapped her wrist comm once. Forward corridor clear. But anticipation. Someone's waiting. Not fear. Expectation. We breached the outer airlock. Marines swept left and right. I kept Alara in the center, my rifle up, her hand occasionally brushing my arm for reassurance through the suit. 2 levels in, it went wrong. We rounded a junction and froze. One of our own Marines, Corporal Reyes, stood in the middle of the corridor, helmet off, face pale under the red emergency strips. In his right hand, a sleek neural jammer, thumb hovering over the trigger. In his left, a data slate showing live feed of the shuttle bay. Our ride home. Rigged. Reyes. I kept my voice calm. Talk to me. He didn't look at me. Eyes locked on Alara. They promised amnesty. Citizenship in the Federation. All I have to do is press this. It shorts the implant. Severs the bond. Kills the failsafe circuit before it detonates. A thin smile. You live. She lives. But the link dies. And they get her intact. Alara stepped forward before I could stop her. You want me, she said through her helmet speaker, voice steady despite the tremor I felt through the bond. Alive. Cooperative. That's why you haven't pressed it yet. Let them go. I'll come willingly. Reyes hesitated. The bond screamed, her terror sharp as broken glass, but beneath it, iron resolve. Through the link, she sent me one clear image, herself walking away, back turned, so I wouldn't see her face when the jammer fired. No. Hell no. I moved without thinking. My left hand snapped to the utility pouch on my thigh, pulled the compact EMP grenade we'd packed for electronics denial. Not to use on the outpost. On him. I thumbed the activator, lobbed it underhand. It hit the deck between Reyes's boots and pulsed once. Blue-white flash, silent in vacuum-tight corridors. The neural jammer sparked, smoked, died in his grip. Reyes howled, dropped it, reached for his sidearm. I was faster. 2 suppressed rounds. Center mass. He crumpled. Alara dove for the fallen jammer, small fingers closing around it, yanking the power cell free. She looked up at me, breathing hard. The sector commander. 3 levels up. He's panicking now. He knows we're coming. I pulled her to her feet, tucked her behind me. We finished this. The outpost erupted. Alarms wailed. Blast doors slammed. Rogues poured from side passages. But Alara was a living radar. Left, 2 hostiles, fear spiking. I pivoted, fired. Right, grenade trap. Wait, disarmed. He's running. We fought upward room by room. Her warnings flowed into my reflexes like second nature. My covering fire kept her safe. The bonds sang, clear, bright, unbreakable. We weren't commander and asset anymore. We were one purpose in 2 bodies. At the command deck, the sector leader tried to bolt for an escape pod. Alara felt his terror crest. Bay 7. He's fumbling the code. We hit the bay in a sprint. He spun, hands up, face ashen. I surrender. I surrender. Marines secured him. Zip ties. Hood. Dragged to the shuttle. Extraction was a running gunfight. Plasma scorched my shoulder, grazed, burning. Alara kept moving, one hand always on my arm, anchoring us both through the pain. When the shuttle ramp sealed and we broke Atmo, I collapsed against the bulkhead, dragging her down beside me. She pressed her helmet to mine. Voice soft over private channel. You were going to let him kill the bond. I was going to keep you breathing, I rasped. She leaned into me, small frame fitting against armored plating. I've decided to make keeping you breathing my job too. I laughed, hoarse, exhausted, alive. The device in my chest thrummed steady. Not a bomb anymore. Just metal. And the real link, the one we'd chosen, burned brighter than ever. The shuttle docked with the Indomitable amid cheers on the bridge. We'd done it. Sector commander in custody. Rogue ops in the drift crippled. Admiral Brooks met us in the hangar bay, face stern, but eyes warmer than I'd ever seen. "Debrief in 30, he said. "But first, good work. Both of you." Ilara stood beside me, small hand brushing mine. The bond hummed, quiet pride, shared relief, something deeper neither of us needed to name yet. 3 days later, in the Admiral's office, the holo display showed after-action feeds. Our assault, the betrayal, the final push. Brooks leaned back. "The Thaler Compact is impressed. They're expanding the program. More pairings. Your partnership will be the template." I shook my head. "It can't be replicated. What we have wasn't coded. It was earned. Day by day. Choice by choice." Brooks studied us. Me in my battered uniform, Ilara at my side, shoulders barely touching, yet somehow connected by invisible steel. "Then teach them," he said finally. "Show the others what a bond becomes when both sides choose it freely." Ilara looked up at me. Through the link, I felt her question, her hope. I nodded. We left the office together, walking in step down the corridor. The device still pulsed beside my heart, steady, lethal if triggered, but irrelevant now. Just metal. That night, in my quarters, Ilara placed her palm over the spot on my chest. "The echo of fate," she whispered. "I understand it now." She closed her eyes. A faint vibration started, deep, resonant, not destructive. The implant warmed. Lines of code I'd never seen scrolled across her retinal display. She'd found it. The hidden override, buried in Thaler architecture. Not a bomb trigger. A repurposed signal emitter. With a soft exhale, she activated it. A pulse rippled outward, silent, invisible, targeted. Across the sector, rogue Federation fleet vessels went dark. Shields dropped. Weapons offline. Engines stuttered. Remote disable. Total. Clean. Ilara opened her eyes, wide with wonder. I did not expect that the death mechanism built into a person would become my path to victory. I covered her hand with mine. The bond sang, gratitude, trust, fierce affection. Not possession. Partnership. Not weakness. Strength. She smiled. Real, bright, the first without shadows. The real bond was never in the machine. I pulled her close. "No, it's this. Us. Every day we choose to stay." The stars moved outside the viewport. The war wasn't over. But whatever came next, we'd face it linked. Not by force, not by failsafe, but by the quiet, unbreakable vow to protect, to believe, to lift each other higher. And that made all the difference. Thank you for listening to this story to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Write in the comments what moment in this story impressed you the most. Tell me, do you like the comic book style? And also check out the other videos that just appeared on your screen. See you in the next video.